Hey everyone, it's your host, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today I have a very special guest coming to this Gentleman Style Podcast stage and joining me and helping me peel back the layers of Mastermind. She is one of the brightest minds on the planet, and I have the pleasure of interviewing her today on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. She is spoken all across the world. She's currently in London, but she's here with us on the Gentleman Style Podcast stage to help us learn and get understanding about the benefits of mastermind groups, how they benefit you, how they benefit us, how they benefit we. But she comes from a background that is most unique, the film industry. Again, this woman has vastly traveled the world, spoken at many conferences, and currently is teaching and speaking to what we need to do better to take our business, our life to the next level. And I couldn't be happier to have her join me on the Gentleman Style Podcast stage today. So without further ado, I can't hold this special guest back anymore. Help me welcome to the stage the incredible Miss Scully. Welcome. You look fabulous, Miss Scully. Thank you for joining us on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show.
Oh, thank you. What a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much.
It is absolutely the truth. I couldn't be happier. I've been looking forward to this all week, and you are necessary. And I want to tell you that here personally. And thank you for what you do. Thank you for the way you give back and educate all of us in mastermind groups. And so thank you for sharing space with us today.
My absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. So diving right in, I want to throw a little curveball. I want to start with something that stood out to me about you, because you talk about masterminds and you teach to many different faculties. But when did you notice that you had the gift? Because again, your background is film. When did you know you had a gift for teaching and speaking and helping others do better in business and relating the two?
It's interesting because obviously they feel very different. I worked in visual effects. It feels like that is super different from working with entrepreneurs. But it's actually, if you look at it from the right direction, from my direction, it's remarkably similar, because working with film directors, they are very stressed, very driven. They are working on many projects at the same time. They are really thinking things through. They're under budgetary constraints. They have to keep their clients happy. They're working on the film they're shooting. They're working on the film that's in pre-production. They're working with us in the visual effects teams, working on post-production. Now, doesn't that kind of sound like entrepreneurs? And on top of that, the crew that I used to work with, I ran lighting teams. We are extremely well paid, which is very lovely, but we're also paid a lot of money to be right, which means you have a lot of very strong personalities who are, let us say, convinced that whatever they are thinking is correct. And my job was to get these wonderfully talented people to work better as a team. And that is how mastermind groups work, where you get very talented people and together we produce something better. And hopefully it becomes a little clearer why these things are, it's actually very connected. And also in the film industry, we are always thinking about the end result. We're thinking about the person sitting there in the cinema, eating their popcorn, absorbing the story. At each stage, we're thinking about that, just as you do through a sales funnel, or when you're thinking about your clients, when you're building offers. All of these things, I think, make it super similar.
Love it. How did you find yourself in the film industry? How did you end up working in film? What was it like? How did you enjoy your time? And then why'd you leave?
Well, I loved it. I loved it. My first degree was as a silversmith. I worked in design. I used to make physical things, and I was pretty artsy fartsy. And I didn't want to make my money from the beautiful things I made. I thought I could use the skills I had to work in film. And being too dumb to know any better, that's what I did. It's actually extremely hard. No one ends up in film. You always have to work your way in. You have to work extremely hard. But because I just didn't know any better, I kind of just wandered in. And I was very lucky and I loved my time in film. But you work foolishly hard, 7 days a week, often 18 hours a day, almost continually. In fact, if you leave before 7 o'clock at night, then often you will go with like people screaming at you, part-timer, look at you, leaving early. It's dark outside. Oh yeah, all the time. It's horrific. And I joke that I left the film industry because I'd heard about these things called weekends, and I wanted. But it's not really a joke. It's pretty much true, to be fair.
Wow.
It's horrific. But I did it for 20 years. I loved it. But yes, I just, you can't work like that forever. It's not right.
It's not doable, right? You need rest. You need your weekends back. You need your time back. And can you share anything unique that you learned in the film industry? Something that most people don't know. Are you able to share any insider secrets there?
Well, I worked with Pixar. We did their first live action film with visual effects. So that was John Carter from Mars, which you will remember as a terrible film. Rightly, it was a dreadful film. However, that was not our fault. It wasn't the director's fault. It's just an old-fashioned film. And it was Pixar's first film that they released working with other people outside of Pixar. And it turns out Pixar, the pinnacle of animation, they are so disorganized. It was really shocking. We sat there in Pixar meetings. And yes, because of course they only ever work with themselves, so they can kind of muddle through. And here's the secret, is that John Carter wasn't very successful. It made 86 million in its first weekend, which isn't bad. But the studio boss, there was a change of sort of regime change. And the first thing a studio boss does is get rid of all the old boss's work. So they canned the film out of cinemas very quickly. But the big secret is they knew this was coming. So instead of releasing it as a Pixar film, they released it as a Disney film. Because if it's not going to be very good, at that point, Disney didn't make very good animation films. So they made it a Disney film. You heard it here first. Please don't sue me. Would be.
That's the tea. I love that. No, that's the tea we need here. Thank you for sharing that. Who is your celebrity crush, and have you ever met them?
I don't think I've got one, actually, to be honest.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Who's yours?
You're my celebrity crush.
Oh, come now. He's so smooth.
Again, Miss Liz Scully, y'all, sharing the tea on Gentleman Style Podcast Show. Huge brain. Incredible thinker, incredible mind. That is absolutely necessary. Miss Scully, you teach mastermind groups and how to do it the right way. And so when did you start that, and why mastermind groups? Because you have an incredible mind. You could do anything, literally anything that you want to do. What is the uniqueness and the powerfulness in mastermind groups?
Well, when I left the film industry, it was just me, and I was used to working foolishly long hours. So it was just me sort of T-Rex typing away in my room from 5 o'clock in the morning till midnight, because I hadn't learned much. I'd managed to leave the film industry, but I was still stuck in that treadmill. And I worked continually. At the time, when I left the film industry, I had been working at DreamWorks, and I was based in Bangalore. So it was just me working away in this beautiful paradise, foolish hours. And I heard of this idea of masterminds, but they weren't in India. There were none to join. So being a type A personality, I imported the idea of masterminds to India. I set up a company to run them, mostly because I wanted to be in a mastermind. And then I proceeded to run one and learn as I went. So part of why I think that I'm very good at teaching masterminds is I've been doing it for well over a decade. But also I have made every possible mistake so that the people that learn from me don't have to. And there are a lot of mistakes about masterminds. And I'm there to kind of steer people away from that.
Absolutely. Before we touch on the mistakes, what have you noticed have been some of the biggest benefits you've experienced from being a part of a mastermind group?
Well, the reason I wanted them so much when I left the film industry is film is very collaborative. And I think us humans, we work better together. We are just better in groups. It is lovely to be able to look across a mastermind group, and they're small groups, the sort that I prefer. And you look across the group, and on a tough day, you can think, yeah, other people are going through this. It is tricky. Isn't it good to have other people here? And on a great day, you can go to your group and be absolutely supported and looked after in a way that your friends, your family, they like you, they love you, but maybe they don't understand what you've achieved or the work that went into it. And a mastermind group will give you that support center where you will be completely looked after and held. It's a place where you can think. It's a place where you can ask those questions that maybe feel a bit dumb, and there's like maybe nowhere else you can ask them. You are in such a safe place in your mastermind. You can ask there.
That's huge. What are some of the should a mastermind be very niched, specific, where it's talking to maybe real estate, a mastermind group of real estate investors, or a specific niche of mastermind group professionals who are financial gurus and specialists, and they know the latest stock pick? What are the best mastermind groups that you've seen in your experience, or the best type of mastermind to start?
Well, you can do it either way. You can either have, as you say, all dentists or all realtors or all financial experts. And as long as you are not in exactly the same space, so that you're not in direct competition, you can learn a lot from looking across the group and seeing people who are doing something that maybe you haven't tried in your particular area. That's really helpful. But I think the most powerful masterminds are when it's a mix of people. I know that in my own personal mastermind, the person that I learned most from, so I'm a business strategist. I help people grow their business. But the guy I learned most from, he ran really high-end hotels, 5- and 6-star hotels. He taught me more about standard operating practices, about the buyer's journey, about the customer sort of enticement and thrilling them while they're there. He taught me more than I would ever have thought possible. And if you'd written it on a piece of paper, this man from a hotel background is going to teach you about your business, I'd have thought, really? Okay. Okay. And I think that lovely serendipitous part, that's what you get from a mastermind. So you need a similar goal. We were both in that mastermind because we wanted to grow our business. So the goals were similar. We were moving at the same space. And sure, a bunch of dentists or vets or realtors, absolutely, you will get a good benefit from that. And if that's your specialization, you can build a great group around that. But if you have a mix of different types, you're going to get an absolute cross-pollination of completely different ideas.
I love that. Miss Scully, so that's huge. So you can do either specialized mastermind groups, or you can mix it up, as long as you don't have competing experts or professionals in the same mastermind, because I guess it's a competition at that point, right?
Yes, exactly. And you want people to feel very open. So if you had, so with realtors, it could be that you're in the same area, but some people are doing industrial and some people are doing apartments and some people are doing the above 2 million and some people are doing like a much lower kind of tract housing. So you could do it that way, or you could do it so that you're in geographically different places, so that maybe they were vets across Europe or dentists across the US. Personally, I mean, no disrespect to our dental friends, but I personally can't imagine anything worse than a mastermind filled full of dentists. I'm sure it's a lovely business, but personally, I would feel a little intimidated by that crowd. I think that says more about me than the mastermind, to be fair.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. How many mastermind groups are you a part of?
At the moment, just one. But when I was first designing my course, I joined every mastermind I heard of, to be honest. And at that point, I was at about 6, which I truly cannot. Like over a 2 or 3 year period, I was continually in 5 or 6, just because I didn't feel I could be saying, well, my system's the absolute best if I hadn't been in lots and lots of masterminds. Yes, I can't say it's a particularly good idea to be in that many, but most of my clients are in a mastermind and they have a business coach, and maybe they might also have a personal coach for something specific. So I think it's something that will works really well with other things in your life and your business.
So you don't recommend being a part of more than one mastermind at a time?
God, no, don't do that. It's a terrible idea. Unless they are completely different, unless one is for copywriting and one is for personal development around running, say. If there's no overlap at all, you absolutely could. And you can run a mastermind about pretty much anything. But generally speaking, the nature of a mastermind is that they're a small group that we discuss this time, we set a goal, and you achieve it for next time. So if you're in lots of masterminds, either you're setting the same goals everywhere, which is what I was doing when I was in far too many a decade ago, or you are giving yourself too much homework. And the whole point about running a business well is that you're not giving yourself a lot of homework.
That's real. That's true. That's true. Should there be a limit to masterminds? Is there a set limit to masterminds? Should you keep it small and tight so it can run efficiently and effectively? Or should I just open Pandora's box here and I say, I want all the greatest minds in my mastermind? Right. And so what do you recommend? What do you teach to?
I have a lot of very strong opinions about this. So the sorts of masterminds I teach I think of them as small, intimate groups, 4 or 6 people, and they are there for a long time. So people join my mastermind groups for a year, and we set goals that will be achieved by the end of the year. We look at big strategy. I'm a strategist, so we look at where do you want to be in 3 years, in 5 years. Okay, so that means at the end of this year, you need to be at this place. So we have a tiny group that meets regularly, and mine meet every 2 weeks, and we keep each other on track, or they keep each other on track. We all do it together. We all keep each other on track. And by doing that, the group will remind each other, but you said this wasn't what you were going to be focusing on this year. Let's focus on this. This sounds like a lovely idea, because let's face it, every entrepreneur has that big, shiny distraction section that we all have. So they will keep each other on track. Now, small groups like that, you can really build that community, that trust, that delight. And my groups are tiny, but I train people on 4 or 6. But my personal groups, the ones I run in my own business, are 4 people, because we can have a spotlight or a hot seat, depending on how you call it, which means it's half an hour where each person in the group gets to ask a question that is about their business, then be quiet and listen to the input from everybody in the group. There are no free rides. Nobody doesn't speak. Everybody inputs, which means that every 2 weeks, you are getting people that care about you and support you, and they're there for you all the way through. And I think that is the key. If you have too many people in a group, well, you either get useless input, and I think we've all had those at business meetings, let's face it, and we've either got that, or I would suspect, this is where I begin to rant, so stop me here, but this is where a mastermind is that you have goals, you have a hot seat, you achieve your goals by the time you meet together, and you've got longevity. You know each other. It's a safe space. Other things are called masterminds. They're not masterminds. They're a networking group. They're a Facebook group. They're a lovely weekend retreat where you all sit about and sip wine and listen to talks. That's not a mastermind. That's a conference. Like a very nice conference, but that's not a mastermind as far as I'm concerned. I just very strict about these things.
That's true. And that's good, because I was going to ask you, what is the distinction between a mastermind, a conference, and everything in between? I've attended, it wasn't a mastermind. It was called something else. And for the life of me, I can't remember, but it was called something else. And the goal of the group was, we are part of this group and we work together, but you can't have competing competition. So if I'm a life insurance agent, I couldn't join this group. It's not a mastermind. I couldn't join this group because there's already an existing life insurance agent. And it dawned on me that, that doesn't seem, it's beneficial in the beginning stages of a business, right? If I'm a new business and I'm looking for clients and customers to serve, right? It benefits me to be a part of that type of group, because I'm the only one in that group. So if I'm selling life insurance policies, I can sell all the life insurance policies to the members of the group who are looking for life insurance at that time. But if the group isn't growing, then I'm kind of, once those sales are done, they're done, right? But I'm the expert in that field, so they can refer me out. They can refer me to clients and within their networks and help my business there. But that was what I was going to ask you. What is the difference between a mastermind and that?
So that sounds maybe something like BNI, or there are those other kind of networking spaces that are about sales. I am here to sell to the rest of the group stuff, whatever the stuff is, whatever my thing is. If I was there, I would be selling my mastermind course. You would be selling delightful podcasting experiences. All of those things that's fine, but that's very transactional. A real mastermind, and bear in mind, sadly, there is no federation managing the word mastermind, although one day I shall start that for sure. But that feeling of I'm here because I'm doing business, that is very different from the sort of masterminds I run and encourage people to join, which are small groups where we are there to think. Sure, we're there to help each other's businesses. Sure, we might even buy each other's products, but that's not the main thought. You're there to ask the questions that you can't ask anywhere else. Should I fire this person? Should I hire this person? What do you think of this strategy? I was thinking of this sales page. How do you feel about, I'm starting a podcast, it's going to do this. Do you think my avatar would be interested in that? Questions that you can drill down, that people know you well enough to be able to think, with the amount you've got on, this isn't a good idea for you right now. And it's not saying it's a bad idea, but just I know you well enough to know that you have a very busy summer every year, or that you can't work nights. You're just committing to do a morning thing. You're not a morning person. You can't even string words together at that time of day. It's being seen, it's ideating, and it's like having an extra lobe on your brain. And that networking stuff, it's completely different.
It's true. That's so true. That's so good. That is so good. And thank you for breaking that down so delicately and carefully. Y'all see the mastermind here in the room. Y'all see the wisdom in this room. So I really needed to hear that. And thank you for breaking that down. You touched on something earlier and it prompted a question. Do mastermind experiences or terms expire? So when I join a mastermind, is there a term, a dedicated term or a limit on me being in that mastermind? And should there be terms where, hey, if I join this mastermind, you're a member for life, or hey, our limit is 6 months and then you either renew or you get out?
Well, you can run them so they're rolling enrollment, so that people are joining all the time and you can stay as long as you like. I don't think you're going to get the best results from it. I have friends and colleagues that do that, and they make it work. But I think it's better if you have a fixed term and you are clear that this is when we start and this is when we finish. And you will achieve this thing by the end of the time we're there. Now, obviously, life gets in the way and we pivot sometimes. But generally speaking, the things we set up in January, you will have achieved by December, or something will have changed along the way. But that is the plan. And what I find with my clients is that people stay with me for year on year on year because it works. This year, we build the foundation for next year over and over again. And because it is a fixed term, everybody's moving through the same arc in the mastermind. We start the year keen and enthusiastic, and then we go through this is quite hard, sort of pause in the middle. Then we pep up after a little break in the summer, and then we sprint hard to the end of the year. And that way, the group, the little community is really important. And I think this is the key for me. There are many things called masterminds, which, as we've established, are often not masterminds at all. But those things, what they're missing is this feeling of community, being together, and that feeling of being a little rowboat. We are all rowing in the right direction. And when you have that, everything changes. Everything is so much better when we are working together. And for me, if people are joining, I join in January and someone else joins in July, they don't know me. The advice they're going to be giving me isn't going to be great at that point because they don't know me. Whereas somebody who's not only known me from January, but from the year before, each year, the quality of the advice is going to be better and better.
I love that. Told y'all. We are working hard to find special guests like Miss Scully to give this insight, this wisdom, and this experience. And I love it. I love when we get She's giving us our time, and she's spilling the tea, and that's no pun intended for our London viewers. But she is spilling the tea here on Gentleman Style Podcast Show and really sharing the heart of and the benefits of the mastermind group. Miss Scully, can someone be kicked out of a mastermind? And can you share some experiences what will cause someone to be removed? Because you gave that great distinction between a networking group or a conference group or a Facebook group and a mastermind group. So are there bylaws in a mastermind group where it's like, listen, don't sell any products in this mastermind because we're here to really deep dive and think? All right, what are your thoughts on that?
So what I like to do is I'd much rather not have someone join than kick anyone out. I have occasionally in 12, 14 years of masterminding, I think I have had 2, maybe 3 people leave. One of them I extracted, shall we say. The others, it just wasn't a great fit. All life just got in the way. And the way I do that is by really careful curation before we start. So we are really, really on top of how it all fits together. So don't join a mastermind if you're kind of half in, half out. If you're at that kind of, maybe it'll work, I'll give it a few months. No, for me, you've got to be all in. And that's a big ask. I realize that. So I tell people there's no hard sales. If this isn't for you, or if you are thinking, oh, maybe I'll leave if I don't like it. No, don't join. And it's tough, and it's counterintuitive to all of those kind of Russell Brunson push sales. But that's why people stay in my groups for a long time. It took them a long time to join, and they stay for a long time because it works. I think if you just mash lots of people into a mastermind, you'll end up with the wrong fit. It's all about curation.
True. What comes to mind for me is maybe having a rolling term of mastermind members so that you're constantly getting fresh ideas. We see this in business, right? We see this in business when people stay so long and they get stuck in their old ways. And so maybe having a rolling roster of new and innovative and creative minds coming into the group to give fresh perspective could be a benefit there. So that's powerful. And all of this is getting me thinking about a mastermind group and the mindset and the nature and the heart of a mastermind group. How many years in business or how many years of expertise should I have beforehand before considering joining a mastermind? Because if I'm brand new to business, I probably don't have a lot to contribute to that mastermind. But if I've been 10, 15, 20 years, I may have something beneficial to contribute. What are your thoughts there? How many years in business or how many years in my specialty should I have?
Well, for most of us, when we start a business, we were doing something else first. So you can have masterminds that are for newbies, and they are less ideation masterminds and much more about accountability. I will write the blog post. I will get my website up. I will do whatever the tedious task is I've been avoiding. Cold calling, normally. Let's face it, most people avoid that. So it's helping you get through that. For those people, what I've found over and over again, because my very first masterminds were very, very much for newer people, they would say, I don't have anything to give for the mastermind, which is actually a really good sign for a masterminder, because it means that they're thinking, how will I fit into the group? What will I contribute? It means they're a very group-based person. But every time they would be, well, I've only been a health coach, say, for 3 years. I've only just finished my training. I'm like, but you spent 20 years in corporate life. Don't you think maybe that experience would be useful? Do you think? Yes. Sure. Yes, I do. So we've all got something else that we were doing. Now, unless you are putting a mastermind together full of 17 or 18-year-olds that are brand new to the world, and nothing wrong with that, but most of us have like a past that is going to be helpful. And a mastermind isn't just business stuff. It's about managing staff, and certainly my business ones are, but you can run a mastermind about anything. But it's about managing people and making sure stuff happens, keeping you on track, dealing with those tough days. And in business, there are many of those. keeping people on track for that. So the lower end ones, the newer ones, are more about accountability. The higher end ones, for those of us that have been running a business for a long time, they're more about ideation and thinking, because we don't really need help on the more basic stuff, because hopefully after 10 or 15 years in business, you have a clue what you're doing. You would hope. You would hope. So I think the important thing is that you can join at any level, but you have to join a mastermind that matches where you are.
True. Facts. If I could give her a mic to drop, another mic, not the mic that she used, if I could give her another mic to drop, that would be epic right now. Are mastermind groups profitable?
Oh, hell yes. Oh, yes. They can be. Like, you can run them as philanthropic events. So it is possible to run free masterminds. I don't recommend it, because as with everything, we value what we pay for it. But my masterminds are between 10 and 15 grand for a year, which is at the lower end of what people charge for masterminds. And I don't get me wrong, I'm aware it is a nice chunk of change. But for people in a mastermind like that, say they pay the bottom rate, that's 40 grand US as well. So you have 2 or 3 of those plus the rest of your business. That is a nice extra stream of income.
That's true. That's so true. That is a chunk of change. You don't, and that's all at once, or payment plans, or layaways. Well, you ain't doing none of that.
You can do it either way. I find that people get best results if they pay in a lump, because for all of us, it's quite painful handing out over a large chunk of change. So you hand it over, and then you are so motivated for the first couple of months because you have the pain of having handed over the cash. And at that point, you will then work really hard to get to the results. If we pay monthly, and this is true for anything, but if we pay monthly, when the bill goes out, some part of you thinks, did I get my money's worth this month? And as with all long-term coaching plans, there will be months where you seem to be standing still, but you're doing all the ideation. And also part of what my people are paying me for is occasionally I will have to, and I mean this with love, sort of push them a bit, slap them around a bit, metaphorically, to get on. And if they see their monthly payment go out on a month where I have been stop wasting your time, get out there and do the thing. If I've been all kind of pointy finger with them, they're not going to enjoy that month's payment at all. And that feeling of psychologically only working in months instead of a big, long time. So yes, I do offer payment structure. It's a little bit more for the admin, as with all these things. But I just don't think any of us get as good a results. I know that myself, when I first paid 25 grand for a coaching system, which was, I was living in India at the time, it was that you could live for quite some years in India on that much money. I was so keen and so focused because it was so much money. And that really taught me that if you can afford it, obviously I was in the very lucky position where I had that money, but I only just had it. I think I got most out of that program because I couldn't afford for it to fail. I don't think any of us can afford to spend that much money and not get a result from it. But I think you want to find that point where people are going to feel stretched, a little bit nervous, just a little bit edgy. And if we are all working with clients that have cash, which I wish for all of us that we are in a position where we have flush avatars, you can still get a feeling of that by getting people to pay in a lump. Because paying in one pay altogether, whoever you are, if you see 10 grand, 20 grand, and some of my clients go on to make masterminds that are 10 or 20 grand a month. If you see that kind of money going out, you are going to be focused. Your pencil's going to be sharp. You're going to do all your homework. There's going to be no feeling of, maybe, it doesn't matter. At that much money, you're going to pay attention.
What were you looking to get out of that mastermind group in India when you paid that amount of money? Were you looking for an accountability partner? What were you looking to get out of it? And did you get your money's worth?
I did. It was a huge program. It was in the US. It was just as I was leaving in India. So I'd lived in India quite a few years after I'd left the film industry. I left. I paid for this extortionate to me amount of money. And we got a course, we got a retreat, we got this whole year-long program. There were masterminds. It was amazing, and it absolutely changed my life. And the coach who ran that, Jonathan Fields, he became a good friend. Eventually, I went to work with him running his masterminds. So yes, I got every penny of that back. But it still haunts me, the cost of that that moment. And I think it's important to remember those pivotal moments in all of our lives, because for each of us, what was the point that tripped your clients from not doing the work to doing the work? Because that moment, for me, it was cost. For me, it was like, all my eggs are now in this basket, and it all worked out, and it was wonderful. And Jonathan Fields is a fantastic coach. But if it hadn't worked out, I would have survived. Of course I would. But right. I would not have been motivated if it had been considerably less money than that.
Love it. That's huge. What are some key things that, because I can imagine, right? Because you not only teach to joining mastermind groups, you also teach to starting mastermind groups. And so I can imagine feeling the huge pressure of someone just paid me $10,000. And I feel compelled now to yes, that is a chunk of change, especially if I got 4 or 5 or 6 members that just paid that money. I may feel pressured to deliver. And so what are some key things when starting a mastermind group that I have to deliver on that is important in giving value from that mastermind group, no matter what kind of like a broad stroke? I know you can niche down or you can have a broad mastermind, but what are some key things that you need to deliver when people are paying you that kind of money?
Well, it's a good point. And, I wish more people thought about that before they started masterminds, because I have certainly met people that are like, I just started a mastermind. What's it to do? Because you have to have a theme. You've got to have a point. Just starting a mastermind, it's like doing a workshop. The very next question is, what is the workshop about? What is the result I'm going to get? So make sure that you are in a position to help with that. So if you started one, Marcus, it could be about having a diversified portfolio of different types of businesses under your head. So you could work with people that had maybe 1 or 2 businesses and wanted to get a 3rd or a 4th, because you know about that, because you've done that for a long time. You were used to helping people sort of pick their way through thinking about that. I know you are, because you're a podcast host. You have helped people think more clearly. So already I know that you know about running different businesses. I know you know about talking to people correctly. You know about helping people make decisions and think clearly. So a mastermind that was helping people make a big decision or move forwards or grow from one business into 2 or 3. The joy of masterminds is you can add a course to it, but you don't have to. You can make that safe container and allow people to grow within it. But you need to be clear that you can guide them in the right direction. Obviously, they have to do the work themselves. So I would say have a theme, super important. Be sure you can achieve the theme, at least yourself, and you can be clear. You have a framework for how other people can do it. So just a kind of vague feeling of, I don't know, I just kind of turn up on a Monday and everything happens. That would not be ideal. So be clear of your framework. But the big key is be careful who you put in the group. Much more careful than you ever know. Exactly what we're talking about with curation. If you have someone who never shuts up, or who never thinks before they speak, or who, we call it in coaching world, who shoulds all over everyone. You should do this. You should do that. No, none of that. We want people who are generous with their time, with their thoughts, but also kind enough to allow people the space to think things through themselves. So your role as a mastermind coach is to balance the personalities and the needs and the results. That is probably the hardest bit. And to be honest, that is the bit that is missing from almost all masterminds, because people think there are 10 people here who would like to give me 10 grand. Of course they could all join. Yeah, so lovely money, but 2 of them can't stand the others. One of them speaks all the time. One of them is so introverted, they will never speak to a group, even just 10 people they know really well. That's not a well-balanced group.
No, not at all. Not at all. I love this. Thank you for the compliment as well. I do spend a fair amount of time giving back and educating and trying to help others in business. I just came back from my home, the Virgin Islands. And so one of my habits is I'll be doing something. So I went jet skiing, and the person that was renting us the jet skis, I was analyzing his business. And I was analyzing his business and seeing the things that he needs to improve on so he can 10x his business. And I just asked him a few questions. I didn't share any of the advice because one of the things I learned in leadership and working with others is that when you share something and the person is not ready to receive it, it's useless. It's useless advice. You could be giving out sage wisdom, right? But if they're not in a position to receive it or they didn't ask for your opinion, it means nothing. So I do that now. I watch and I observe many businesses in my island, and I just take notes and I observe and I watch and I see and I learn from them, but I also give myself creative feedback about what they're doing and say, if I ever started this, I would do these 5 things to beat out the competition. And that's just how my mind works right now. So huge, Miss Scully, you are helping me. And again, thank you for the compliment, the lovely compliment. I appreciate you so much.
Well, absolutely what you've described. That is the thinking of a business strategist, obviously, but also perfect mastermind host material. Just saying, sir, because that thinking, I know, I'm sure most business owners, if you go into another business, you spend your time thinking they're not making money here. If they move the menu over there, if they move this over here, but to actually have a sort of ranked list continually, that's the sign of a business strategist. You could help other people grow their businesses. Of course you could.
Thank you so much. Speaking of helping others, we have to show respect and homage to our show sponsors. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Baby Gear Services DMV specializes in high-quality baby gear rentals in the Maryland and DC metro area. We have a wide range of baby gear items for rent, including wooden cribs, car seats, high chairs, and more. We also offer seasonal specials and free delivery. Our prices are very versatile to cover every budget. Wooden cribs start at $17 a day, high chairs and even car seats start at $5 a day. Check out our website, www.bgsdmv.com.
Hey guys, this is your boy Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And we are here in Patrick Henry Mall, Newport News, Virginia. We're actually here for something unique just inside. Something new, brand new that we want to explore together. You guys ready? All right, here we go. Hey, boss. Heard you are an athlete, man. See you at the mall every day. We are at Patrick Henry Mall, living up, and we are talking about CBD. But first off, the normal thing that we all deal with is joint pain, back pain, suffer from everything.
Neck pain too.
Neck pain? You got some neck pain?
All the time, man. I'm getting up in age, you know what I'm saying? We're not young no more.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you. Bruh, CBD helps with that exact same thing. Neck pain, back pain, joint pain, all the pains, everywhere pain, right? And so that's what CBD does. That's what we're here to help you and me do. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
All right.
CBD is one of the most powerful cannabinoids because all it's focused on is the health and wellness. We're talking helping people with anxiety, depression, insomnia, sleep deprivation, all provided. CBD works with the natural mechanics of your body without the crazy side effects of Western medicine. So these products are here to actually align your body and get it back right so we can actually have a better quality of life. And that's what CBD does. We are back to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and we have the incredible, amazing Miss Liz Scully on Gentleman Style Podcast Show, spilling the tea on her expertise and experience in the film industry, now teaching us on how to do the proper way to start and host or join a mastermind group. And now we're going to dive into something unique that I read about her. I learned about her on the side. But if you missed anything that she has shared, any tea that she has shared today, go back, scroll back, and check her out. We are on iHeartRadio, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Ghana Radio, radio.com, Facebook business page, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcast. We are even on Audible. So check her out. She's absolutely phenomenal today. Miss Scully, I want to ask two unique questions that I learned about you through researching you. And I hear this often about businesses and avatars. Why is knowing your avatar so important and so significant in business? And why do you teach to this in what you do?
Well, if you don't know who you're talking to, how are you going to use words that they like? Look, if you're talking to your grandmother, you're going to speak very differently about something compared to the guy from the 7-Eleven. And if you're persuading them to do the same thing, whatever it is, buy your product, then you have to have the correct words to make that work. Now, I know that's really basic, and I'm sure everybody listening, if they've got a business, they've done some kind of avatar work somewhere along the business. But it's not enough. When I worked with ad agencies, because as well as working in film, I worked for big ad agencies in London and all over Europe. And we did a lot of TV, commercials, that kind of stuff. The ad agencies have enormous avatar files. So for something like a detergent, a soap detergent, they will have like a massive ring binder, huge amount of information. They will know everything about their client so that when they are speaking in ads or in commercials or any of those things, they know the emotional state. And I think that's the key to be able for any of us to buy things. We need to feel something specific and then know something. And feeling and knowing, those are the things that we put into all of our sales material, because we know about know, like, trust, and we know about great sales copy. But what they're really doing is putting you into that feeling of, yes, I trust this person, so I will buy. But there's a lot more to it than that. The more you understand what the pain of your avatar is, what's keeping them awake at 3 a.m., and how they will talk about that pain at 11 a.m. So in the middle of the night, you might be thinking, I'm a loser. What a nightmare. No one's ever been as bad at business as I am. Will it ever get any better? But during the daytime, you might talk about that as, yeah, sales are a bit slow. And we need to be able to talk to both of those people, because we are both of those people. And knowing your avatar, you know what's keeping them awake at the middle of the night. You know how you can help them because you're good at what you do and you want to help them, even if it's just a really simple thing. Whatever we are selling, we are helping someone with a problem of some sort. And I think that's important. And we don't dig deep enough, and we don't ask enough questions of the people who do buy from us.
That's so true. When I first heard the concept of an avatar, I thought it was poppycock. I thought it was silly, right? I thought it was absolutely bonkers. And because when I saw it, it was actually a boardroom of executives and thinkers, high-level thinkers, and they were actually drawing on the board. This is Sam, right? This is the company's avatar. This is Sam. What does Sam want in life? He's this age. He's African American or Eastern or Western Europe or Caucasian or Indian. What does Sam want in life at this juncture in his life? And companies will actually build their brand and their marketing around Sam. And so just like what you said, what is keeping Sam up at night? Well, Sam is worried about being able to take care of his grandmother when she because Social Security is going away, or her pension is going away, or her retirement fund is depleted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And so now, because the company and the leaders of the organization have a concept and they have an actual person that they're trying to reach, it really 10x's and focuses the business, because without focus, we fall. And so I love that you shared that. I know, did I miss the ball with that, or did I?
No, absolutely spot on. So and it's not just that we that we need to know the background and we need to know what keeps them up. I think you can go with, like, the deeper you go, the better. If you discover that it's a culture where you look after your grandmother, that's much more important than someone who has a vague sort of family tie. They're not really that important to it. In India, where I lived for many years, there is a kind of sort of moral imperative that everybody has a side business. It's something you do for the family. That's just the way Indian culture is. If you are in a position where you can have a little business, and that money will support all of the family together. Now, if you know that, then you can provide lots of very small business, micro business support for that. If you don't know that that's the culture, it might just seem a bit weird that everyone seems to have a little side hustle. Yeah. So the more you know, the better. The more you ask, the better.
Love it. I want to pick your brain because I heard this on another podcast that you had the honor and pleasure of, and I got the ability to listen to. You talk about the reasons why people lie. And so I wanted to ask you here on the Gentleman Style Podcast, because I think that's crucial. And to give you a heads up, my follow-on question is, how can we tell when someone is lying to us? But first, why do people lie?
Why do people lie? Oh, where do you even start with that? There are so many reasons. For a lot of the time, I think people aren't trying to be evil. I mean, because there are different sorts of lies. There's the, no, I did not sleep with your sister, and no, I did not steal that $1 million. Those are not the sort of lies that most of us encounter most of the time. I really hope you don't encounter those. But I'm thinking of the little lies, that shirt looks lovely on you, or no, I can't come out tonight. I have something on. And the something on is, I don't want to go out. I'm going to be sitting on the sofa watching Netflix. Now, for most of us, those little lies, we wouldn't even think of as lies. They're just sort of social grease to move things along. And we all do them. I would say many of us may even have done them recently. Oh, sorry, it took me so long to reply to you. Your email went into spam. I think we've all told that lie one time or another. Or, when you click I have read the terms and conditions. I don't know, I've almost never read the terms and conditions. Let's get to the bottom and press, have you read them? Yes. That's a lie. And it's because we haven't got time, or we want to do the right thing. And we are surrounded by this kind of feeling of just wanting to not hurt people. So social grease is important. And if it's the show I'm thinking of that you listen to, you'll have heard me say that I likely lie to my clients all the time as well. Very gently, before anyone worries. It's things like, I will tell them that at first, when people start working with me, I tell them that you have to spend 50% of your time on marketing and 50% of the time doing the thing that your business is about. If you're a masseur, 50% of the time masseuring and 50% of the time doing marketing. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a lie. You should be spending 80% of your time doing marketing, 20% of the time doing the thing. Nobody wants to hear that. There are quite possibly listeners shrieking and running away from whatever they're listening on as a result. But I don't tell people that to begin with. Get it up to 50%. And after a year, I can say, so here's the great news. You're doing a lot more marketing. Here's the bad news. You need to be doing even more. And it's more about sort of sequentially, like a baby. You're feeding little tippets of information to people. Because I don't want to lie to people, obviously. On the other hand, I am human. Therefore, we all lie all the time. And it's often because it's not, if I just ran up to people, exactly as you were saying earlier, and went, your problem is you're not doing any phone calls, you're not doing any marketing. And frankly, if you just lifted up the Zoom phone occasionally, you would have a business. People would run screaming from me, obviously.
Yep, terrified.
Rightly so. Whereas if I said, we will build a path, we will build you into it, it'll be great. You're going to get to, fine. Okay, you're going to get you a nice sales page. We're going to get you a nice funnel. It's going to be great. Okay. Now you're going to do more marketing. Yes, I'm going to do more marketing. And we get them up to 30% and then 50%. And then here's the bad news, kids. It's 80%. At that point, they've got such a successful business. They're fine.
Right. That's so true. And so thank you. Thank you. I know that's cheating, right? I was doing my research, y'all. I gotta do my homework. But the second question to that is, how can I tell if someone is lying to me?
There's so many ways. There's so many ways. It's body language. Now, first of all, we all know this. Like, we are humans. We have a body. You are used to people. Like, you were used to the way humans look when they are not telling you the truth, or when they are telling you the truth. So there's some obvious tells. Touching your face, because there are some basic stuff, and I teach some of this in my Mastermind course. So if you are sort of lightly covering your face, you're almost trying to scoop the words back into your mouth. So if I'm telling you, yeah, that's fine. So I shouldn't do that in front of the microphone. But if I'm sort of covering my mouth and you're thinking, why? It's like, and because the thing is if I always cover my mouth, that means nothing. Whereas if I suddenly start doing it, or I suddenly start scratching my ear or pulling my neck, these are soothing situations, or playing with my hair, they're signs that I am not feeling calm. I need to be soothed. Good chance I might be telling a lie. The very tip of your nose can get very itchy when you're telling a lie, like Pinocchio. There's some special
It's growing.
Exactly. It can get very itchy. And often what you see people do is we all know this. We know that your body can leak this kind of truthful stuff. So when people are telling a lie, they will go incredibly still. And humans, generally speaking, aren't very still. They'll go very still, they'll tell the lie, and then as soon as the lie is finished and you've looked away, they will suddenly start self-soothing and rubbing their nose, and you're like, oh, really? The truth you tell me? Look at you. Obviously not telling the truth. But the thing is that you can learn how to do it. I've done a lot of CIA and FBI training for this kind of stuff. Not because I was part of those things, but just because I'm really interested in it. But body language is fascinating. There's wonderful YouTube channels that will teach you this stuff. But it is fascinating. And if you can learn how to watch for it, the interesting thing is you can back off a little bit. If you see someone telling you a lie, they probably don't want to tell you a lie. Not really. Humans tend to want to be truthful. So if you back off a little bit and make space for them to be truthful, there is a chance that they will go, so that thing I just said, yeah, maybe I exaggerated it, but did you really? Did you? I find it fascinating. And if you can learn to spot these things, and the reason I know this stuff is apart from the FBI and CIA training, as an animator, we studied this stuff, how faces look, how things move. And there are certain basic shapes that a face makes as it's as it's moving through the muscles. We trained on these. And so I spent a couple of years looking at them in my film world. And then I started doing this lie detection stuff. And I'm like, oh my Lord, I have a talent for this. Who knew? And with coaching, if you see someone maybe not telling a lie, the thing I see most often is people sort of struggling to not cry, because there's things in our business we don't really want other people to know.
Sure.
Time is hard, money is hard, things aren't going as well as we expect. There are little tiny signs that if as a coach you see them, what I will do is I'll see something and you don't know what it means. It's just a thing. You touched your neck, you swallowed, your voice has got a little bit cracked. I would stop and say, of course we can answer your question, but what did I just see? And if you ask it at the right moment, people will suddenly go, oh, and then often there's tears. Like, how did you know? Like, you're a witch. How do you find these things? I'm like, I just saw you do this with your neck. And that to me is really interesting.
That is interesting. That's why I asked, because it's the human experiment on display. It's the human condition, right? We can't help it, right? We can't help those nervous tics. And so, especially when you're in sales and business, you're not trying to be deceitful. What you're looking for is an avenue to relax someone, and you're looking for opportunities to make your clients trust you. Because if you're lying to me, you lack trust in me. And so tuning into that helps me tune into, okay, this person is uneasy. I need to make them feel better. How can I set their mind at ease? So it's nothing malicious. I wasn't asking that question. And this is why Miss Scully teaches this. And this is why she studied it. And that's why she does so well, because she wants people to trust her, which is something I think the human condition we all want ultimately. So huge brain on that. Incredible. My last question, Miss Scully, is I heard from a little bird that you read about 600 books a year. Why do you do that? And why do you do that?
Why do I do that? Well, yeah, I like reading. The basics is I am interested in a lot of things. Surely we've established that by now. But about 5 years ago, I went blind for a couple of years. I had an ear infection that affected my eyes. Apparently, this is a thing. I wasn't best pleased about it. And I was blind for about 2.5 years, not completely, but nothing was in focus. So I switched from my normal way of reading with my eyes to audiobooks. And of course, with audiobooks, you can play them faster than one. So I read a couple of books with my ears, a couple of books every day, sometimes 2 or 3 books a day. And if you're doing that many, then you get through them very quickly. Because for about the first 6 months that I had this ear-eye thing, it was like being very drunk. I had that horrible spinny feeling all the time. But it's like being drunk for 6.5 months. It was horrible. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. So all I could do was sit very still, and I could work for about 2 hours a day. Incidentally, that's why Masterminds were so good, because my business went on absolutely fine. But I was very still in all of my meetings, very still. And the rest of the time, I sat still and I listened to books. And I got used to this idea of being able to read so much. If you mention anyone to me, by the time you next see me, I will have read all of their books, all of their peers' books, and any book on the subject. And it's like a superpower. It's just fabulous.
I love it. Leaders are readers, y'all. And I'm so glad that you were able to get past that, and you're doing better, I'm assuming?
Oh, yeah, no, I can see now. I mean, it's a little bit blurry in places, but yes. No, like if you're going to go blind, this is the blind to go, definitely.
I'm glad you're better, and I'm glad you're okay. And that is epic. I love audiobooks. I love leaders are readers, y'all. And it speaks to Miss Scully and her great work. So read. Audiobooks are the cheat code. For sure. This has been an epic conversation, an epic interview and discussion about mastermind groups. Miss Scully, you have given so many nuggets, so much insight, so much wisdom today, and I appreciate you. But if you had one more nugget in the hat, and that young boy, that young audience member, that young girl seeing this and is backed into the corner, she doesn't know if she should start a mastermind or join a mastermind. If you had one more nugget to share, what would you say to them right now standing in front of you?
If you are absolutely short of cash, you can start your own free mastermind, and it will do more for your business than you can ever imagine. Be careful who you choose to join it, but being surrounded by a group of people who believe in you, it will change your life completely. It changed mine. It changes my clients' lives every day. It's so important. Finding a group of people that believe in you and are just going to accept that you will achieve your goals. It will make it so much easier to achieve them.
There you go. Start a mastermind, join a mastermind, do what you have to do, but get started today. This has been an epic interview. I hope this message has been impactful, inspirational, and encouraging. If you want to grow, you have to surround yourself with others who are going in the direction that you want to go. And the best way that I have now discovered, the cheat code to this, is joining or starting a mastermind, because nobody reaches the top by themselves. So powerful. I want to say this to you publicly, Miss Scully. Don't ever quit. We need you. So powerful. And thank you all for joining this episode. I hope this was inspiring. I hope this was epic. I hope this would help you learn that you can take things to the next level and to take your business and your entrepreneurial journey and your life to the next level. Like we end every show, we gotta let Miss Scully go. We are out of time. But I hope this helps you take things to the next level. Like we end every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always, always take care of business. This is Marcus Norman, your favorite gentleman, and Miss Liz Scully, Rethink Central. Oh, forgive me. How can we find you? How can we connect with you? How can we learn more? This train has left the station, but it's not too late for people to get on board. How can we find you?
Well, I made your listeners a secret page on my website. So if you go to rethinkcentral.com/gentleman style, there, it's all there. You can get some information about Masterminds. You don't even have to opt in. It's all just there for you.
Love it. Love it. Connect. Click the link. And for our audio listeners, that's rethinkcentral.com/gentleman style. Thank you for the special link. We love it. We love it. We love giving back. This is huge. And so take care. Like we end every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always, always take care of business. This is Marcus, your favorite gentleman, and the incredible, the super fragilistic Miss Liz Scully signing off. Love you guys. Bye.